If you want the results of commitment, you gotta marry it. This is it, forever, good times, bad times, sickness and health, money, no money. This is it for me and my family. I'm gonna do today what others won't so I can have tomorrow what others can't. There is no glory without sacrifice. There is no financial independence without sacrifice. You have to have a plan that is faultless. Faultless, and work that plan. See, folks, you have to understand one thing. You're not smarter than the system. You're not better than the system. Who do you think you are to be in this business for 1 year and think you know more than A.L.Williams? Just let the system work and watch what happens. I'm so excited I can hardly stand it.
Bill Orenda. When I left Waddell & Reed, I was making $120,000 a year. I had 650 licensed people in 6 southeastern states. When I left Waddell & Reed, they offered Bill Orenda my job. $120,000 a year job, $100,000 plus 20% bonus, pay all his office expenses, had 660 people licensed in insurance and investments, all his expenses paid. I couldn't even offer Bill Orenda an RVP promotion. He was under Jenny Carter. But Bill Orenda thought about it, probably changed his mind 2 or 3 or 4 times, but at the end of the day said, I can't work with another company. If you work for a company, then they always got their thumb on you. We had frozen all the RVP promotions in Georgia. I said, we can't ever let the one state, jeopardize the future of this company. So when Bill got ready a year later to be an RVP, I said, sorry, Bill, but you can't be an RVP unless you move to somewhere. And I ain't got no money to send you nowhere. And I ain't paying none of your expenses. We never paid anybody's moving expenses. We never paid any office expenses, nothing. And Bill decided to go to Dallas, Texas, and risk it all.
Got to keep the main thing the main thing. I walked in a guy's office one day, started trying to recruit for A.L.Williams, 3-piece suit, wingtip shoes, typical corporate type. And he looked at me and said, you got to be kidding. A.L.Williams hires nothing but truck drivers and factory workers. I said, yes, sir, we hire people just like your parents. I said, forgive me for saying this, but you've forgotten where you've come from. And folks, we have forgotten where we've come from. We'll give you the backbone that it takes to make it here, because life will take one vertebrae away at a time until you have no spine left. I want you to be the hardest working one in your hierarchy, your base shop. I want you people to say, man, I respect that person because they work hard, they work long, and they sacrifice to win. They did without to win. There is no glory without sacrifice. When you want to be somebody so bad, it hurts, because no one will understand you. No one will understand you but the people that are somebody. And you can look him in the eye and say, I understand exactly what you're going through. I've been there, and hang in there, because one day you will be somebody. Somehow, someone's got to say, everything said it won't work, but I'm going to make it work. Somehow, some way, shape, or form, this is it, forever, good times, bad times, sickness and health, money, no money. This is it for me and my family. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Especially those people I got the tickets for. That's why they applaud me so much. Thank you. I want to thank Andy Young for opening up all this to us, and he did it. That's Andy, isn't it? So I want to congratulate him and thank him. Thank you. Andy, they're standing up behind you. Especially all the people not in your hierarchy, because there's so many of us that are not in your hierarchy that you've reached out to. And Angela's been sitting through all of this. Isn't that incredible? Sitting there like a grandparent, loving all this, because these are her kiddos. And Angela, Thank you for you and Art for all that you've done for us for so many years and staying with us for so many years. Thank you. I always like to tell people that if I ever say anything and I'm not quoting A.L.Williams, don't listen to me. We don't, it's amazing how we listen to everybody else but Art. And then we wonder why maybe we're not going where we should with everything that we've got. And so I'm going to be taking a little different tack today. I tried this out a while back in my office, and I didn't get one smile. No one thanked me. No one said anything, and I found out I was too tough. Then I started thinking, you know, you probably wouldn't made it in the early A.L.Williams days then. Because unless A.L.Williams talked to us in a special way, we didn't have the goodies to go out there and do anything. And why are we here? We are here to challenge all of you to get on board to bring back the glory days of A.L.Williams. Not the good old days, the glory days. Because when we came together here, all of us in this room, we owe it to the future generations of A.L.Williams people. And we're not going to be talking about Primerica today. Primerica brings Wall Street to Main Street. How's that working out? We want to bring back A.L.Williams, the philosophies. I heard that a great man is not only people remember what he said, but they teach their children what he said. And we got to go back to teaching our children, our hierarchies, our businesses, and our futures exactly what Art taught us that made us what we are today. And as I look back on all of us in the early days, because we had dinner last night and we're reminiscing about the tough times and how many times we were shut down and out of business and what kept us going. There's the only thing I can pin anything on, and that's the story of all this. I want to be somebody. A.L.Williams continually reminded us that I want to be somebody so bad it borders on being an obsession. And I'm going to do my best today to talk about that. But those 13 words built an iconic company like this nation has never seen before. You see, because I don't know what art is, but I know it when I see it. I don't know what somebody is. I don't know what the term means, but I know it when I see it. I know when you have the goodies, and down deep, when you want to be somebody, magical things start happening. And the problem isn't you don't know this or you don't know that. The problem is you don't want to be somebody bad enough that it borders on being an obsession. Because I texted this thing out not too long ago to about 20 people in the hierarchy, and I said, what motivates you? 19 out of the 20 said, I want to be somebody. Isn't that amazing? Yet we have a company that's not teaching people and encouraging people to be somebody. See, Primerica, the way we know it today, what Art built and all of us built, is a unicorn company. What does that mean? It's statistically shouldn't exist. Like a unicorn, they don't exist. We shouldn't exist because this has never been done for in the history of the world, putting together something like this. So you got to take a look at yourself and say, how come? How come this thing exists? Because in our lives, this is the only thing that delivers. College didn't deliver, school didn't deliver, the degrees we have didn't deliver, the good jobs we had didn't deliver. And we came here, it was just set out in front of us. Here it is. You do these things, and it's going to deliver for you. It's interesting how we tend to think about how did we build Primerica? We didn't. We built some bodies, and A.L.Williams was built. A.L.Williams was built as a byproduct of wanting to be somebody. You know, Francis and I had the privilege of 5 minutes together in the back, And I don't know where you get this somebody stuff, but we want to be somebody. I don't know what motivates us. And our job is to stop finding people who want to be nobodies and start finding people who want to be somebodies. And watch the magic that happens when that happens. A.L.Williams said, call me anything, but call me average and ordinary. You know something, in America today, being an average and ordinary is the goal, like everybody else. He built in us this attitude, and we were at war with average and ordinary. You've got to be at war with it, not just, I don't want to be average and ordinary. And the tough part is all the people in Primerica think just because you're in Primerica, you're not average and ordinary. Very easily it can slip into the average and ordinary mode inside our company today. You know something, we built something monumental. Now what does that mean? Think of monument. Carol and I and our family went out to see Monument Valley. You ever see it out? It's just fantastic to go to Utah and see Monument Valley, all these great big edifices that are there, and they were created because what? All the wind blew all the dirt away, and these monuments were left. And our company is a monument company because we did something no one's ever done in history, and you're a part of it. Now remember this. We took on the insurance industry. A.L.Williams and his 85 people, the whole industry. You know, Neil talked about how bad whole life insurance was. Multiply that times 2,500 companies. Multiply the obstacle that we had to conquer. And what caused us to get up every day? The crusade, wanting to be somebody. You see, there's got to be something inside of you that says, I want to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else. You know, A.L.Williams said it in the locker room notes, you know, the book that people say I wrote. I just took Art's notes and wrote it, right? Well, everything he said, so I called it Art's book. In that, he said 116 times he talked about sales. In that, 51 times he talked about insurance. Isn't that interesting? Only 51 times. 122 times he talked about attitude. Building a team, he talked to 123 times. But 126 times he talked about being somebody. He talked more about being somebody than he did about building a business. Because he knew that if we got us to want to be somebody, the business would be built. Instead of, let's build a business, and maybe you'll be somebody if you build a business. I remember Jimmy Meyer said this on the video, the 40th year video. It was magical, Jimmy. When you were being interviewed, and you were talking, you said, when A.L.Williams said, I want to be somebody so bad it borders on being an obsession, you leaned forward and soulfully, everything in you came out and said, I knew he was talking about me. You see, in business, all business exists to solve problems. If there is a business, it's because someone's got a problem. If there is no problem, there is no business. And we in Primerica talk about we solve people's financial problems. In fact, I wish they'd change the name of the company to Primerica Financial Solutions. Because what? Services, look at all the stuff we got. You need anything? I got it all. Versus, I'm here to solve problems. If you see an air conditioning truck going down the road, you don't wonder where they're going. If you see a Primerica person going down the road, you know where they're going. But unfortunately, we only stick to one or two or three problems that people have. Dying too soon, living too long. As Jimmy showed you, a problem is 100% income off of one. That's a problem that needs to be solved. It's not, oh, by the way, we have an option. You can get 1% off 100. Are you interested? No. Whole life, Neil, was the problem. It wasn't some interesting thing. 100% income off of one is a major problem, and you're going to rue the day you had that life. But the biggest problem that people have that no one ever talks about is the fourth problem. That they want to be somebody, but no one ever let them know that there's a place they could go to be somebody. When you start talking to people at your interviews about being somebody, did you ever want to accomplish anything with your life? And if they're not on board, they're indifferent, and when they come here, they're going to be indifferent here. We don't make somebody a somebody. They already, in their minds, want to be somebody, and we just help them do it, that's all. You know, as you all know, every time we had an RVP meeting, Art would say, we're probably not going to make it, right, Neil? But if we do, right, Mike, it's going to be big, right, John, right? He said, our chances of making it are this. See, the somebodies loved it. None of us blinked. We should have, but none of us blinked. Why? And it's funny because I was just writing it down. What are some of the things that A.L.Williams motivated us with? T-shirts, right? Compensation program, we forgot about that, T-shirts. Plant your flag, the enemy can't win, be fit to fight. I ain't average T-shirts, I want prove bad. You ain't a pansy, are you? That's what built this thing. Think about it. And you know, no wonder why they don't write about it in Harvard. But there's something about our nature. There's something about the fiber of our being that says, I don't know what that is, but that motivates me and stimulates me. Business solves problems, but no one's ever offered people an opportunity to do something special with their life. When was the last time you gave a recruiting interview or an opportunity meeting and said, the end result of all this, don't you want to be somebody? Do you ever say to yourself at night you want to make a difference with your life? Don't you want to amount to something? And if they don't jump on it, you know exactly where they're at. You know exactly what their fiber is. Because most people they're sitting there, they're not in their cubicles going to work every day. They're never being offered an opportunity to be somebody, to amount to something. It's like you heard me say in the video, people come here for all the things they can have, but they stay for all the things they can do. A.L.Williams talked to us more about being somebody, amounting to something, make a difference in our lives, than he ever did talk to us about compensation. A.L.Williams said he'd have RVP meetings every 6 to 8 weeks. He said, if I didn't bring you all into Atlanta, you'd all be out there committing suicide every day. Because I know what you're going through out there. And he had to build up on the inside before the outside would come. And I'm going to talk about the do it talk and how we get it wrong. You know, all of us can quote the do it talk. The winners, they do it, and they do it, and they do it, and they talk about how great it is to be somebody that they're proud of, and how they're not like everybody else. Unfortunately, Francis, we stop at the last do it. Art says just do it. Art says just do it. But we forget what causes the do it. The last part. And how great it is to be somebody that they are proud of. And how they're not like everybody else. So that's two things. Number one, you got to want to be somebody. And it's got to border on being an obsession. And your numbers reflect whether or not you want to be somebody. We're too casual with it. You see, we're too busy taking Wall Street to Main Street. We're too busy teaching people getting all the wholesalers in to train our people. Let me tell you something. You want to explode? Stop the wholesalers from infiltrating the minds of your people. Because they've got their minds, they've got their hearts, and they've gotten into mechanical. Like Art said, he doesn't like professional sales trainers. Why doesn't he? Because these professional sales trainers have techniques and to get away from the heart. And that's what's happened to most of our people. They become too perfunctory, which means what? It's casual about it. I heard that from a pastor one day. I kind of like that word. Second point is how you're not like everybody else. See, people in Primerica think you're somebody because you're in Primerica. People in Primerica think they're not like everybody else because they're in Primerica, but they get into Primerica and they find out they're just like everybody else in Primerica. Kind of going through the motions, and they're not quite into building something fantastic like Jimmy was talking about. See, a lot of you folks out there saw what Jimmy was doing, and right an RVP factory, and everybody stands up and cheers, right? But in the execution of it, like one pastor said, it's not how high you get Sunday, it's how straight you walk Monday. What are you going to do tomorrow? And how bad do you want to be somebody? And do you honestly want to be like everybody else? Like one guy said, the worst thing you can ever say about somebody is they're just like everybody else. Are you just like everybody else in a company? Most people are. Why? They're lacking wanting to be somebody. They think, no, when I make the money and I have the success, then I'll be a somebody. No, you're a somebody, and the money and the success comes as a byproduct of all that. Like one author said, just as the body needs food, water, and oxygen, we got to have food, we got to have water, we got to have oxygen. The mind and the heart and the soul needs a mission and a purpose and a mantra. If you took away our ability to be somebody here, we'd be a shell of a man or a woman. We're just kind of going through the motions, because the number one fear in life is death. The number two fear is having a life of insignificance and doing nothing with your life and going through the motions. If you talk to people and they say, listen, just tell me how much money I can make, you've already lost. You got to say, don't you want to make a difference with your life? Don't you want to amount to something? If it doesn't register, you got to move on. Like Art said, I just wanted my life to matter. You know how many people talk like that? Yeah, in my former company, a steel company, you think at your school when you talk, do they talk like that? See, we don't understand the power we have when A.L.Williams built this whole company on terms like, don't you want to make a difference? Don't you want to be somebody? Don't you want to amount to something? Don't you want to leave this world a better place? And we don't use it. We hear it and moves us, but we go right to the products and right to maybe the difference between our products and everybody else's products and how much money you can make and whether or not you can be an RVP. Art said, how bad do you want it? What's what? To be an RVP. I mean, to be somebody. How bad do you love it? What? The arena of being somebody. You know, I'm not sure Georgia knew how much you could talk about somebody, but I found a way to talk a lot about being somebody. Because, you know something? It's like a balloon when the air goes out. I'm nothing without wanting to be somebody. None of you are either. You are held up by that desire that God planted in you purposely to do something. See, God planted in the hunger thing in us. We're not hungry because no, our mind is saying, you're supposed to be hungry. If you're not hungry, you'll die. So he causes us to want to be hungry. God caused this, the thirst factor in our bodies, to say, because you won't, like a lot of people, they get dehydrated. They're not thinking to drink enough liquids. God put in us a desire to be somebody. We are hardwired so that it causes us to do something with our lives. God created business to force us to be good to one another. If not for business, we wouldn't need anybody. We could do it on our own. We got to be good to somebody. We got to make their life better. and therefore we get paid. When our life gets better because their life got better. How many of us are, I cannot stand the fact that people don't recruit. You know what that means? I don't care enough about that other person. I don't care how that person's life's going to turn out. I don't care if they are somebody. I don't care if they have a legacy of income. I don't care. When we don't care enough, that's why recruiting doesn't happen. We recruited out of wanting to be somebody and wanting to help other people be somebodies. You're a somebody when you find other people who want to be a somebody and you help them. All those people that are $1 million earners, Jimmy, you help them become somebodies. And they help their people become somebodies. And they help their people become somebodies. Your hierarchy is made above somebodies who wanted to help other people become somebodies. How do you want the world to be different because you were here? See, Mike Tuttle it reminded me, I can't believe I read the book once and didn't get anything out of it that much, called Living Intentionally. He said, Bill, that's the book of my life. In fact, in Dallas, he's having a whole class, a 5-week class on it. You know what the difference is? Wanting to make a difference. Wanting to leave this world a better place. Listen to Art's terminology. If you are eaten up with being somebody, you can do impossible things. If you want to be somebody with intensity borders on fanaticism, you will. There's nothing I wouldn't do because I want to be somebody so bad. My butt's always burning. I grew up believing that down deep, everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to look back in their life and say, I mattered at something. Call me anything but average and ordinary. Which means what? If you want to duplicate what A.L.Williams did, you've got to start feeling like A.L.Williams felt. Instead of saying, what did A.L.Williams do? The same things everyone else is doing, but he did what? Let me clear this up. Remember the $500,000 person and the $500,000 person was Mike Tuttle, wasn't me. That was Mike. I was making less than that, but he was the $500,000 guy in Dallas. I'll take credit for it, though, right? Makes me look good. And I heard this quote, and it says this: in everyone's life, at some time, our inner fire goes out. It is then burst into flame by an encounter with another human being. We should all be thankful for all those people who rekindled the inner spirit. That is a recruiting interview. You are the fire that's rekindling, again, rekindling. They had it at one time, they lost it, wanting to be somebody. Remember A.L.Williams talks about the high school, and you fear miss everybody in high school, and then you what? Take off that uniform and you're nobody for the rest of your life? You felt special for a few years? You understand when they come here, they want to feel special again. But again, why don't we talk about it? Who lit your fire? Think about who was that person that lit your fire. See, it wasn't only Art. We got the great litters like Bobby, Bob Turley, Larry Weidel. Every Monday morning, Larry tries to light our fire. Your uplines, Andy Young tries to light your fire. John Roy, Mike Tuttle. Mike, I went on a trip with Mike and Stephanie, Carol and I did. He lit my fire for 2 days. Because why? That's what we do. Like I told Carol I loved her one day. I said, Carol, I love you. She said, you better. That's your job. Our job is to fire up other people about what their life can be. Listen to this. I want to be somebody. That's all you need to hear. But A.L.Williams continued. He said, don't you want to make your mark on this generation? Mary, don't you want to leave your mark that you were here? That this world is a better place because you were here for 80, 90 years. Who in their right mind wants to go to their grave being a nobody, a do-nothing, a no-count? We have to understand that's how the 99% of the people are out there. Like Georgia said, everybody wants to be a somebody, but no one told them how to become one. That's our job. That's how we set them on fire. We talk too much about the math of our company and not enough about what you could become here. Don't you want to make a name for yourself? I remember I heard this. Will anybody remember where they were when they heard you died? Don't we all know of people that we heard, like President Kennedy? There's not a person over the age of 60 that doesn't remember where they were. Everybody remembers. And there's people in our lives, like Virginia. I can tell you where I was. I can tell you the hour of the day. It was June 18th in 2010. I was in Detroit, just finished an opportunity meeting, walked out, looked at my cell phone call, Virginia died. I'll never forget that one. Is there anybody in your life that you touched enough because you wanted to be somebody? We're supposed to right wrongs and correct injustices, aren't we? We hear that all the time. It sounds good. We think that's about whole life insurance in term. The right wrongs and correct injustices right the wrongs that they've been told they can be. They can't be anybody. Right the wrongs that they're just a cog in the wheel and we can replace you. You're just another person. If you don't like it, there's 10 people waiting in line to take your job. We got to right those wrongs. We got to right the wrongs that you're not that smart. You didn't go to the right universities. You didn't have a high SAT score. You didn't have the right major. Didn't have the right smile. Didn't come on to the right clubs. That's wrong. See, when we recruit people, we're righting that wrong and getting them into our world where they can become somebody and they don't have to prove themselves other than with the numbers. Their past, it doesn't determine their future. Again, we drifted away from the model of being somebody, and we've gone to just another financial services company out there. We are no different than all the rest of them. We say we are, but the same wholesaler that comes to your office at 10 at noon is meeting with another financial services company 2 hours later. You're just another company that they're trying to get you to sell their products for them. When was the last time you couldn't sleep at night because you just wanted to be somebody, and your wife or your husband looks at you and says, "What's going on with you?" "I can't explain it. I just don't know. But there's something driving me." What makes you do what you do? A.L.Williams said, like one guy said, "We've lost our soul." I think it was Antoine Landry said it. He said, "We've lost the art of building a business since we lost art." We're just another company out there. Art said, every piece of flesh wants to be somebody. Every piece of flesh. And then we're sitting down trying to recruit people, talk to them in their home, in an opportunity meeting. Why don't we touch on that? The big benefit of being here is they can be somebody. They can make a difference with their life. Art said, but the world eats them up. They feel like life is running over them. They become a bitter and frustrated person. Like I said on the video, life takes away one vertebrae at a time until you don't have a backbone left. We don't see that person. We see the shell of a man or a woman that used to want to be somebody at what point in time. That's why we've got to bring the glory back. And it's all up to us. We can't look to the company. We can't say, if Glenn would just do this, if the company would just... Stop looking at the company to make us what we know we should be. We know how to build this thing. We know how to recruit people. You know, if you go to South Dakota, they got the Mount Rushmore, the 4, right? Don't we all have 3 or 4 or 5 people in our lives that are on our Mount Rushmore? Who would they be in your life? I've got them. And you know, everybody in this room has got A.L.Williams. Everybody. But the point is, there's a lot of people out there, they'll never know art. They'll see art on the video. They'll see Art on the screen. They'll hear his CDs, his tapes. But they'll never know him the way we know him, Andy. He poured into us, Mike, all those years, John, to do what with it? Sit back and tell war stories of how we know Art? No. Now it's our turn to pour into others like Art and Angela poured into us. But first, you got to want to be somebody. So bad, it borders on being an upset. Think about those 13 words and how powerful they were in your life and my life. When you decide to be somebody, all sorts of people become buoyed at the decision, by that decision, and they now have a hero. When you decide to be somebody, you're going to start being a monument in their Mount Rushmore. The greatest thrill is when somebody tells you you made such a difference in your life. Man would live for a purpose, I put down here, but he'll die for a cause. See, we died to that person, that corporate America. I died to that guy. I died to that guy that was just going through the motions, couldn't wait for Friday night, hated Sundays, hump Wednesday, went to the bars after work to drink for a few hours with the friends. I died to that person. And I chose to become that new creation that can do something with their life. I'm probably not making a difference, but let me point out, you pointed out that go-go letter, right? How many people in this room have ever gotten a go-go letter from Art? How many of you threw it away? Isn't that something? You know why? For that split second, you were somebody, and you lived for it. How would you like to meet Frances Everett when she came up here and got the biggest hug I've seen in years from a man that made her feel like somebody? It wasn't a hug. She felt like she was somebody. See, people are craving for that. You know, Andy, you mentioned Teddy Roosevelt in the arena. Listen to what he says here. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly. Which means this. My terminology I believe in, if you're going to be somebody, every day you got to wake up, go out there and say, I'm going to get my ass kicked today. But it's worth it. I'm going to put myself out there today. I'm going to have an opportunity meeting and some people are not going to show up. I'm going to have this big meeting, put $100,000 into it, and then no one shows up. See, you don't become a somebody because everything's going, everything's working. We've chosen, I got to remind myself when I'm ticked off and frustrated that you chose this, Bill. No one put a gun to your head. I'm bothered by people and people. Some of you quit recruiting because you're tired of people. But luckily, somebody wasn't tired of people before they got you. You want to get on my bad side? Tell me how much you hate working with people. You're tired of people, fooling with people, and changing their diapers. That's our lot in life. We're getting our butts kicked every day. That's what you're supposed to do. Oh, Andy. Oh, congratulations, Andy. Look at all the success you're having, right? Congratulations. What a stud. How many of those people said no to you? How many of interviews have you had the last 6 years? 4,000? How many said no? 95% of them. He got his ass kicked. You know what? That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. A.L.Williams said it. You've got to see yourself. He's probably killing you. Orender, I was going to say all that stuff. Well, he shouldn't have said something at the beginning that you couldn't explain somebody, right? Blame it on Georgia. Don't blame it on me. You've got to see yourself involved in something bigger than just your business. Remember hearing that? Which means what? What if God chose you to do something great? Chose you specifically since the beginning of time. As we all know as Christians, there is no coincidence in God's economy. It's all what? Providence. You were chosen from the beginning of time to do something great. You either can accept the job or you can fight it. Like this one author said, let it not be said that you did nothing. The greatest fear we have should not be of dying, but succeeding at something that just doesn't matter. See, we come to Primerica for all the goodies we think. The cars and the homes and the clothes. But it's interesting to me that when I hear people, I see on TV, this guy bought this Rolls Royce, and this guy bought this big house, and this guy bought all this stuff there. When I went to Natchez, Mississippi with Mike and Stephanie, you know what he talked about? Now, have you ever been to his place? Anybody? It's amazing, right? He didn't talk about that. He talked about the people's lives he influenced, the difference he made in those lives. See, the somebody isn't having a 300-acre ranch. The somebody isn't having a Range Rover. The somebody isn't having this or that. The somebody is, whose lives have you touched? One of my favorite quotes is from a woman named Florence Nightingale. Some of you younger people might not know who she is, but she's the mother of nursing. She made it a profession and a career hundreds of years ago. She said this, and this kind of explains what a somebody is. Why, oh my God, can I not be satisfied with the life that satisfies so many people? Why am I starving, desperate, and diseased on it? If you're a somebody, nobody will ever understand you. Your spouse won't. Nobody can figure you out. They'll tell you, if I had your money, I'd slow down. Why don't you back off? Why don't you slow down? Why don't you settle? Why do you always have to be burdened up? A.L.Williams said it. He wasn't as eloquent as Florence Nightingale. He said, I don't know why, but my butt's always burning. You know why? God put it in you for your butt to always be burning, and the day you out of fear is when it stops burning. Because he has no more use for you, no more purpose for you. Your butt's always going to be burning. It's your destiny. God put it there to urge you to go make a difference in the lives of people. There's another quote I love by a rabbi. He said, our souls are not hungry for fame, comfort, wealth, or power. Those rewards create almost as many problems as they solve. Our souls are hungry for meaning, for a sense that we have figured out how to live so that our lives matter, so that the world will be at least a little bit different for our having passed through here. We're supposed to make a difference with our lives. We're supposed to leave this world that we came to a better place. Not same as you found it. Better place. I love what Mother Teresa said. One of the greatest diseases is being a nobody to anybody. See, once you get the taste of wanting to be somebody, you can't go back. You're ruined. You're spoiled. No matter what you do from here on out, and I met people, they've left Primerica for a bigger contract, more money. And guess what happens? Like you were telling me about your guy, Mike. He said, I didn't make as much money, and I missed all this. I forgot the power of this in a person's life. You are somebody when you can look back on your life and say, my life mattered. Once you've been hungry for it, you can never be full. Once you've been hungry to be somebody and be a somebody in other people's lives, you can never be full. You can never stop doing this. You know why? That's why Rabbi Lapin says that's why there is no word in the Bible for retirement. Because you cannot retire on your purpose. You cannot retire on your mission. You cannot retire on why you were born. You can't quit all that. You're ruined. You've been stamped. You've been chosen. You've been anointed. Now you have to accept it and realize that you're going to be going through hell if you decide to back off. We are on this earth to make people's lives better. We want our lives to matter. We want to live a life of significance. Nobody wants to feel like the world would miss him if he never lived. What if, when you're asked, did you make this difference in the world? Did your life matter? Did you amount to something? Did your life have meaning? Did your life have purpose? Did you leave this world a better place? Did you make a name for yourself? Were you eaten up inside with being somebody? What are you going to say? You have a choice. And when people don't recruit, they're saying in loud, clear voice, I don't want to make a difference in the lives of that many people. And I know Art might have the Churchill quote. I just want to give a little part of it. He said, his favorite quote, the Churchill quote, every man there comes a time. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unprepared or unqualified for that which would have been his finest moment, Neil. What if you weren't prepared when that moment came? Andy, what if you hadn't been prepared? Mary, if you weren't prepared for that? The finest moment was in front of you, and you weren't ready. See, are you ready to make tonight and tomorrow and the rest of your days your finest moment, that special moment? Like he says, those cold and timid souls that know neither victory nor defeat. Mike Tuttle, as you know, is one of my favorite people in the world and everybody else's. But I remember he stood up. Mike, we had an NSD meeting years ago, and there might have been 200 people in the NSD meeting, and Mike stood up there. It was very interesting because he just stood up there, and for the first 30 seconds, just kind of looked around. Then he said, I know what every last one of you have been through. I know the heartache. I know what you did. I know what you struggled. I know what your family went through. I know your good times and your bad times. See, if somebody knows what other somebody's life was like, and you never want to listen to somebody that's a nobody trying to tell you there's somebody. Mike made every last person in that room feel like a somebody. It is a privilege not to live an anonymous life, to go through the motions. Why are we here? To bring back the glory days of A.L.Williams. The torch has been passed to every last one of us. But what are we going to do with it? The greatest privilege that we have is making a difference in the lives of others because a difference has been made in our life. And to shut that down, to I've got enough, or I just want to play golf, or I don't need to do that anymore. You're going to live a very, very unhappy life. I'm not ready, personally, to let Art and those 85 people's dreams become just another A.G. Edwards. Just another financial services company that brings Wall Street to Main Street. We are called by name, by God, to do great things. We've got to finish what we started. All of us started this. Your butt's always going to be burning. You're supposed to be somebody. But Art did not leave us empty. He gave us a mantra. Art said, you'll be somebody and you are proud and how you're not like everybody else. We are here today as privileged people that have been challenged to make a difference in every life there is. The more people we recruit, the more lives we touch. God bless everybody. Thank you.